Unfortunately, the surgery was complicated. It was 13 hours. It was internal infection, which is also extremely dangerous. And he was pretty sure I wouldn't make it. As my wife and I were just doing a ride in a weekend, and I have spasm. It did occur before, but my wife was really concerned about that. And she said, well, we're going to go to not the emergency, but the emergency care. We don't see anything major, but we are concerned it might be something more serious. So they called immediately the emergency and they sent me to the emergency. Really couldn't point the finger what was going on. All the vitals were fine. So they recommend to see my physician. So on Monday or Tuesday, I saw my physician, and she got concerned immediately and started to see a gastroenterologist. And he saw the mass, and he put me immediately our emergency care at the hospital Cedar-Sinai. And I was there for 2 or 3 days for doing a bunch of tests. At that point, they saw the mass, they do a biopsy, and it was cancer, and it was aggressive. We went for chemotherapy immediately. So at the end of the chemotherapy, there was no traces of cancer per the PET scan. But nevertheless, this is an aggressive cancer, and my oncologist as well may not be able to see anything, but at the macro level, it's still there. So we did 30 radiation session, which is a lot. And after that, we did a couple of months of recovery, then the surgery where we removed the stomach and esophagus. Unfortunately, the surgery was complicated. It was 13 hours surgery. It was 60% successful. In the following days, there was internal infection, which is also extremely dangerous. He was pretty sure I wouldn't make it. So it took back and forth a big month to at least seal the leak. And, basically it's for 3 months, it's no drinking, no eating. And after 3 months, I was exhausted. My body was completely gone. I had no stamina whatsoever. But at that point, the cancer was gone. And it was a long and difficult recovery starting at that point, which I did. I started to got a few of my buddy that started helping me. We started to play tennis. And a year after that, I went back to see my surgeon. And he said, well, I'm sorry, cancer is back. And it has spread over lymph nodes, and you're stage 4. And worst case, 2 months, best case, for 2 years. And that was in 2020. And so we started to work with the chemotherapy, the same one I was using originally. After a year, I was exhausted. I couldn't, from treatment to treatment, I couldn't recover. I was just getting too tired. So we reduced the chemotherapy, and we introduced immunotherapy at the same time. It was still spreading. So let's try to radiate those lymph nodes, and we can shrink them, and again maybe a year or more. So 6 months later, we did another radiation therapy. At that point, we stopped the chemo completely. I couldn't do it anymore. And something special happened. At that point, the immunotherapy started to work. And 3 months later, the cancer was no longer visible. So I've been 9 months now without cancer. Doctor don't know why, but I'm very happy about it, and so do I. Hardest part is the recovery. I was so exhausted after the surgery. I got PTSD. But at the time after the surgery, it was nothing. I couldn't stand the computer. I couldn't stand music. I couldn't stand TV. Now these days, I figured out how to manage that during the day. But I learned that my body is not what it used to be, and it won't get to the point where it was before. But there's still a lot of things I can do. just have to figure it out how to make it work. You know, I don't think the doctor would expect me to burn 3,000, 4,000 calories a day without a stomach. Maybe 2, 3 hours of tennis in the morning, and sometimes I can ride 10 miles ride bicycle in the afternoon. And sometimes I can skip, a meal and do an activity with my wife, or we can go outside. If I go outside, I skip a meal. That's okay. The body has a lot of inertia. And if I'm 1,000 or 1,500 calories negative one day, it's not going to change much. You kind of manage, you kind of figured out how your body works. You listen to it, and then it's still a decent quality of life.